The Grand Hall of the Galactic Council stood like a temple of order at the center of Oryx Prime. Towering columns lined the walls, each carved with symbols from every known intelligent species. Hundreds of delegates filled the room, each seated in circular rows that climbed up toward the ceiling. In the center, under a glowing dome of pale blue light, stood the High Chancellor's podium. Commander Alex Voss sat quietly at Earth's assigned seat. His dark uniform was sharp, clean, and plain, just like him. There were no medals on his chest, no badges to flaunt. He didn't need them. His presence was enough. Across the room, High Chancellor Vurox stepped up to the center platform. His long violet robe trailed behind him. He was tall, with a silver-scaled face and narrow golden eyes that watched everything. His voice echoed across the chamber. Delegates of the council. Vurox began, spreading his arms. We gather today to protect peace, stability, and shared strength. A new law has been prepared. A fair law. A necessary law. Alex's eyes narrowed. The council chamber dimmed slightly as the law text scrolled across the air in front of each seat. It was titled Shared Security Reform Bill. The language was polite, careful, but Alex saw the truth behind it. The law demanded that Earth submit its deep space patrol zones to shared council command. It also required Earth to turn over the designs of its Phase 9 defense satellites to a council-controlled committee. In short, Earth would no longer decide its own defenses. Across the hall, murmurs rose. A delegate from the Aldari system raised her hand. This law targets one member more than any other, she said gently. Earth, are we calling this unity? Vurox smiled but didn't answer directly. This law, he said, will stop the rise of dangerous power. It will prevent fear, and it will guarantee that no single world acts above the Council's will. Alex Voss stood up. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. Earth has followed the Council's laws. We have traded fairly, shared knowledge, and kept peace in our space. We did not ask to lead. We only asked to grow. Vurox's eyes flashed. And yet your growth alarms the galaxy. Alex turned slowly, speaking to the room, not the Chancellor. If growth is the crime, then so is progress. We built because we had nothing. We rose because we were weak. And now that we stand, you ask us to kneel? A ripple moved through the crowd. Several delegates lowered their heads. But Vurox was not shaken. He leaned forward. You may speak, Commander, but this council votes with majority will. You may object. You may even walk out. But the galaxy will move forward, with or without you. Then came the vote. Holographic lights flickered above each seat, green for yes, red for no, yellow for neutral. One by one, the lights turned green. Alex remained still as Earth's light shone red. The law passed. The vote was done, and silence fell. Alex did not speak again. He only sat, calm and still, as the chamber began to hum with whispers. He said nothing, but inside, a choice was forming, and that choice would shake the stars. The council chamber remained dim after the vote. The green lights still glowed overhead like stars frozen in time. Delegates whispered behind folded hands, antennae twitched, and translator devices clicked softly in the background. But one figure didn't move. Commander Alex Voss sat motionless, hands resting calmly on the edge of Earth's seat. His face was unreadable. His eyes didn't flicker. Around him, other members of the human delegation shifted uncomfortably. A young assistant leaned in, whispering something. Alex gently waved him off. In the center of the room, High Chancellor Vurox raised his voice. The council has spoken, he said, voice smooth and sharp like polished glass. Let this be a new chapter for balance and peace. One world must not rise above all others. Alex stood. The room quieted again, slowly, like wind dying in the middle of a storm. He stepped forward. The light above Earth's seat turned white, signaling he had the floor. No one wants war. Alex began, voice clear and steady. Earth remembers war more than most. We are not the oldest. We are not the wisest. But we are not fools. He looked directly at Vurox. This law is not balance. It is control. The council claims it protects peace, yet it demands surrender. You call it unity, but it is fear. You fear what Earth might become. He turned to the chamber, addressing everyone. We joined this council in good faith. We shared what we knew. We opened our borders. We followed the rules. But now, Because we have built ships strong enough to defend ourselves. Because our science has grown fast, you ask us to stop. You tell us we must give up our rights. Several delegates glanced away. A few nodded. An old diplomat from the Tharn coalition pressed his tentacles together in thought. A lizard-like senator from the Crowl blinked slowly, watching Alex with quiet interest. Some sat frozen, unsure whether to speak or stay silent. Vurox cut in sharply. Commander Voss, the Council acts with the voice of many. Earth's achievements are not in question. Alex interrupted. Then why is Earth the only world targeted in this law? Gasps scattered across the chamber. That question hung in the air, heavy and sharp. Vurox's smile didn't falter, but the muscles around his eyes tightened. We are all bound by the Council's will, he said carefully. To challenge it is to challenge peace itself. Alex stepped back toward his seat. His tone didn't rise. It didn't shake. Peace built on fear is not peace. It is silence. And Earth will not be silent. The room was dead quiet. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then the Chancellor's aide tapped a screen on the central podium. The motion stands. The vote has passed. The law is confirmed. The session is adjourned. A loud chime rang through the hall, signaling the end of debate. Delegates stood. Some avoided Alex's eyes. Others gave quiet nods of respect. Alex turned to his delegation. He spoke softly, so only they could hear. Prepare to leave. His assistant looked confused. Leave Oryx Prime, sir? Alex shook his head. No. Leave the council. They stared at him in silence, stunned. Then, slowly, they nodded. Across the chamber, Vurox watched them. His smile returned, but it was thinner now, more forced. He thought the matter was settled. He was wrong. The wide golden doors of the Galactic Council Hall remained open as the final chime echoed through the air. Delegates filtered out in slow, scattered lines. Some walked in clusters, speaking in hushed voices. Others walked alone, silent and tense. The law had passed. Earth had objected, but most believed the matter was closed. Commander Alex Voss stood still, surrounded by his delegation. His tall frame cast a long shadow on the polished floor. He stared at the now empty Chancellor's podium. His eyes weren't angry, but they were firm, solid, and far away in thought. The assistant beside him, Lieutenant Marin, looked nervous. Sir, are we really doing this? Alex turned his head slightly. Yes. There was no anger in his voice. No drama. Just certainty. He took a step forward and raised one hand. The gesture was small but deliberate. Across the chamber, other members of Earth's delegation paused, saw him, and slowly began to move. One by one, the humans stood and turned toward the exit. Their boots clicked in unison across the council floor. Voices rose. Delegates turned, confused. Are they leaving? Whispered a delegate from the Rax Dominion. Is this a protest? Asked a pale being from the icy moon of Veranis. Vurox remained at the high podium. His golden eyes followed Alex's every step. He did not speak, but his jaw tightened. Then, Alex paused halfway to the doors. He turned. He faced the council again. Every eye was on him now. His voice rang out, not loud, but clear. Earth entered this council with hope. We believed in unity, in peace. We believed this chamber stood for fairness. He let the silence stretch. But today, that belief was broken. You voted not for safety, but for control. Not for peace, but for silence. So hear this now. Earth will not give up its voice. Some delegates blinked, startled. Others leaned in, listening closely. Alex finished simply. We will not bow. Not now. Not ever. Then he turned again and walked toward the great golden doors. They opened with a deep hum as if the building itself felt the weight of the moment. The human delegation marched out, silent and united. No one stopped them. No one could. Vurox remained still, hands tight around the edge of his podium. He had prepared for debate, for defiance. But not for this. Not for Earth to simply walk away. The chamber buzzed with quiet shock. Delegates whispered behind hands, exchanging nervous glances. What does this mean? Will Earth return? Have they left for good? Will there be war? The questions hung in the air, unanswered. Outside the hall, Alex and his team moved down the long crystal corridor that led to the docking platforms. Stars glowed faintly through the transparent ceiling above. He walked with steady steps, his mind already moving ahead. Plans would need to be made. Messages sent. Allies contacted. Earth would not face this alone. Inside the council hall, Vurox finally spoke. "Let it be recorded," he said coldly, "that Earth has chosen isolation." But even he knew it wasn't isolation. It was defiance. And it had just changed everything. The news spread faster than light. Before the humans' shuttle even cleared Oryx Prime's upper orbit, thousands of broadcasts had already carried the headline across the galaxy. Earth walks out of Galactic Council, shocking defiance at Oryx Prime. Commander Alex Voss leads bold exit. Unity shaken. What does this mean for interstellar peace? Every media channel, from the polished networks of the Zethary worlds to the loud streetcasters of the Outram colonies, repeated the same message. Earth had just done the unthinkable. In the markets of Yathel Station, merchants paused mid-sail to watch replays of Alex Voss's final words. On deep mining ships orbiting the stars of Tau Merrick, workers stood in silence, listening as his voice echoed through the walls. And in political halls across dozens of systems, leaders gathered in emergency meetings, trying to understand what Earth would do next. In Earth's orbit, aboard the Yes Resolve, the flagship of Earth's diplomatic fleet, Commander Voss stood in the observation deck. The planet below glowed in soft blues and greens. A calm world. His home. One worth protecting. Lieutenant Marin joined him, a datapad in hand. "Sir," she said quietly, "we've received over 80 encrypted messages from across Council space. Any threats?" "A few. Most are confused. Some are supportive." Alex raised an eyebrow. "Supportive?" Marin nodded. "Small worlds. Trade allies. Independent systems tired of being ignored. Some are asking if we're forming something new." Alex didn't respond at once. He looked out the window instead. In the background, the ship's systems hummed. Quiet. Controlled. Ready. Back in the council, the storm had just begun. High Chancellor Vurox held a closed meeting with senior delegates. The doors were locked. The press was banned. Inside, the mood was grim. "They've made us look weak," growled a member of the Taraxi Empire. "This can't stand," snapped another. "What if other systems follow Earth's lead?" Vurox raised a hand. They walked out. Let them. Earth has always been loud. This move will only isolate them. But even he didn't believe it fully. Because outside the chamber, the galaxy was listening. On the distant moon of Zelvora, a neutral world with no council vote, its governor stood in front of a crowd of thousands. She replayed Alex's speech on a holoscreen behind her. "Earth spoke what many of us think," she said. "This council must change or fall." Her people cheered. Not far away, in the Rim colonies, a rebel leader recorded a message that simply said, "Earth has proven we don't need to kneel to power." In a single day, Earth had become more than a planet. It had become a symbol, and symbols are powerful things. On board the Yes Resolve, Commander Voss sat at the strategy table with his top advisors. "What's our next step?" one asked. Alex looked around the room. His voice was quiet, but firm. "We hold position. We watch. And we prepare. The council expects us to beg for a seat again. We won't." A younger officer leaned forward. "Do you think they'll try to retaliate?" Alex met his eyes. "If they do, they'll find we're not alone." Outside the ship, Earth spun slowly beneath them. Calm, beautiful, strong. The galaxy had heard Earth's silence. Now, it waited for Earth's answer. The Yes Resolve drifted through orbit above Earth, silent and still against the stars. From a distance, it looked like a shadow gliding across the blue surface of the planet. But inside, its halls were alive with quiet purpose. Commander Alex Voss walked through the command deck with measured steps. His face showed little emotion, but his eyes missed nothing. Technicians monitored screens, officers spoke in low voices, and encrypted messages continued to arrive from across the galaxy. In the strategy room, the core members of Earth's delegation were already seated. The curved table glowed with a map of known council territories. Colored lights marked allied systems, trade routes, and defense zones. A few lights blinked in yellow worlds that had not yet chosen a side. Alex took his seat and tapped the table's edge. The lights dimmed slightly. "We've made our move," he said. "Now we wait for theirs. But we don't wait empty-handed." Lieutenant Marin leaned forward. "Our back-channel messages are getting responses. Some are cautious, some are curious. A few are ready to meet." Alex nodded. "Good. We move carefully. Quietly." He turned to Commander Rafi, a seasoned advisor and former intelligence chief. "Status on the old pacts?" Alex asked. Rafi tapped a command. The screen shifted. For years ago, we began silent cooperation with fringe colonies, places ignored by the Council. We traded fairly, helped defend their borders. Now, those small alliances matter. He pointed to several green dots lighting up across the map. Trade routes with the Tharn settlements. Research sharing with Vex Station. Defense drills with the Koran spires. We've built trust, not with words, but action. Alex studied the map. The Council had never noticed. Or maybe it had, and thought it didn't matter. Now it does, he said. Across the galaxy, movement had already begun. On a small desert moon in the Velen sector, Koran fighters ran silent combat drills, using human tactics they'd trained with in secret. On Vex Station, scientists upgraded their shield tech with software designed in Earth's labs. And on Yera Prime, a neutral world, a quiet meeting took place between Earth's ambassador and a former council member who had long been pushed aside. The galaxy was shifting, one quiet step at a time. Back on the Resolve, the planning continued. We're not building a new council, Alex said. We're not starting a war. But we are preparing for one, because the council might give us no choice. Do we send out a statement? Marin asked. Tell the galaxy our plan? Alex shook his head. No. Let Vurox guess. He thinks we walked away without a plan. Let him believe it a little longer. Outside the ship, Earth rotated calmly. Cities glittered in the darkness. Oceans rolled under clouds. From space, it looked untouched by conflict. But everyone on the Resolve knew that peace was a fragile thing, and it didn't last by accident. Alex stood and walked toward the observation window. He placed one hand lightly against the glass. We didn't leave because we were afraid, he said quietly. We left because we were ready. He turned to the room. Let's make sure we stay ready. As the crew returned to work, the message was clear. Earth wasn't just waiting. It was watching, listening, building. And when the next move came, Earth would be ready to answer. The Galactic Council Hall no longer echoed with the same power it once held. Since Earth's exit, something invisible had broken, and now, everyone could feel it. High Chancellor Vurox sat in his private chamber, not far from the main hall. The room was quiet except for the soft hum of air circulation and the flicker of holoscreens lining the walls. Reports came in from every direction. News. Rumors. Shifting alliances. He scrolled through them, face still, but his eyes sharp. Trade with the Koran spires. Disrupted. Tharn settlements, refusing to share defense codes. Neutral systems, scheduling meetings with Earth envoys. Vurox leaned back in his chair and exhaled slowly. He had underestimated Earth. He had thought they would fight back inside the Council loud, proud, but contained. He never expected them to walk away and stay quiet. That silence had become more dangerous than words. The Council chambers, once full of strong voices, were now filled with doubt. At the next open session, fewer than half the usual delegates showed up in person. Others sent representatives or attended remotely. The seats of Earth remained empty, untouched, undisturbed, as if waiting for a return that might never come. The first to speak was Senator Lauren of the Aldari cluster, one of the oldest council members. This body must face the truth, she said. We passed a law that pushed a member world too far. And now that world may be forming something outside our reach. A low murmur spread across the chamber. Vurox kept his voice steady. Earth chose to leave. They walked away from unity. From peace. Senator Lauren stared him down. Or they walked away from control. Others began to speak. Carefully at first. Then louder. A young diplomat from the Rim colony stood. We have followed the Council's rules, but they no longer protect us. The laws favor the powerful. Earth simply had the strength to say it. A deep-voiced delegate from the Crowl added, we all feel the shift. Trade has slowed. Military pacts are uncertain. Earth's silence is not weakness, it's strategy. Vurox's hand clenched on the edge of his desk, hidden from view. This was slipping. Not just Earth. The entire balance of the Council. He called a private meeting with his advisors. A thick, sealed room, built for wartime decisions. Inside, he dropped the calm voice. Options? He asked sharply. An aide responded. We can threaten trade penalties. Push allies to isolate Earth. It won't work, said another. They've prepared. The more we push, the more systems drift toward them. Another voice, older and slower, spoke with warning. If Earth unites with the fringe colonies, they may form a bloc strong enough to rival us. Vurox turned to the map on the wall. Colored lights blinked, blue for loyal Council systems, green for uncertain ones, red for Earth and its known allies. Too many lights had started to flicker green. We cannot let Earth become a symbol, he said. We must remind the galaxy who still leads. But he knew, even as he said the words, that leadership was slipping from his hands. Outside the council walls, change moved like a quiet storm. Small systems, once voiceless, began to talk openly of Earth's courage. Even longtime allies of the council began to question the laws they had followed without thinking. Earth had done something no one expected. They had said no and walked away. And now, that simple act had become a wave that even the council could not contain. In the shadow of the council tower, a reporter whispered to her crew, "We are witnessing a shift in history." And it began the moment Earth stood up. Inside his office, Futuristic stared at the empty chair where Earth once sat. For the first time in years, he felt something he would never admit aloud: doubt. The stars outside the ES Resolve were calm, distant, and silent, just as they had always been. But inside the ship, every moment felt charged, like the quiet before a storm. Commander Alex Voss stood in the communications chamber, facing a tall display screen. Behind him, his core team waited. No one spoke. The message had just arrived. The Galactic Council was calling. For weeks, Earth had stayed quiet. They hadn't begged to return. They hadn't responded to pressure. Instead, they built alliances, reinforced trade, and made quiet, steady moves. The Council had tried to ignore it. They couldn't anymore. Now they were reaching out, not with threats, but with an invitation. The message was formal, filled with diplomatic language, but the meaning was clear. Return to talks. Let us find new terms. Alex studied the message, reading every line carefully. He didn't react right away. Lieutenant Marin broke the silence. "It's the first time they've asked instead of ordered." Alex nodded. "Because now they realize we won't play by old rules." He tapped a command on the screen. A secure response terminal opened. "I'm not going to the council hall," he said. "They want this conversation? They can meet us halfway." He sent a simple reply. "Earth is open to discussion. On neutral ground. No conditions. Respect first, or not at all." The message was brief, but the silence that followed was louder than any speech. Hours later, the reply came back. Agreed. The meeting would happen on Veridan Station, a neutral hub far from council control. It was a quiet place, a forgotten stop between systems. But for this moment, it would become the center of galactic politics. Alex arrived with a small delegation. No weapons. No warships waiting just out of sight. He came not to threaten, but to speak on equal ground. Futuristic arrived in a sleek, silver cruiser, his face as unreadable as ever. But something in his posture had changed. He didn't walk ahead of his guards this time. He didn't speak first. In a private chamber lined with soft lights and sound-dampening walls, the two leaders faced each other. For a moment, neither spoke. Then Futuristic broke the silence. "You've made your point." Alex met his eyes. "We didn't leave to prove a point. We left because the council stopped listening. You shook the galaxy. It needed shaking." Futuristic exhaled. "Not angry. Not pleased. Just tired." "What do you want, Commander?" Alex didn't hesitate. "We want a council where every world has a real voice. Not just the oldest. Not just the strongest. We want laws made with reason, not fear. We want cooperation, not control." Futuristic was silent. He looked down, then nodded once. "You're asking for a new council." "No," Alex replied. "We're offering a better one." For hours, they talked. Slowly, carefully. Neither gave in fully. But something began to shift. They weren't enemies at a battlefield table. They were leaders facing a new future. Later that day, the two sides signed a short but powerful agreement. Earth would remain independent in its defense decisions. The Council would revise its voting rules to prevent forced laws against single members. Trade routes would reopen, with equal protections for all. New members would gain more voice. It wasn't perfect, but it was a beginning. As the final seal was pressed onto the agreement, Alex stood and looked out the wide window of the station. He could see the stars stretching far in every direction. Endless. Waiting. He turned to his team. "We didn't win anything today," he said. "We just reminded them who we are." "Will they keep their word?" Marin asked. "Maybe. Maybe not. But we're ready either way." Alex smiled faintly. "Always." Back aboard the Yes Resolve, the Earth delegation returned to orbit. Peace hadn't come as a gift. It had been claimed, earned with strength, silence, and patience. The galaxy would never be the same again. Earth had not just walked out. They had walked forward.